Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rise. I'm back here at Loki Kia in Clearwater, Florida. And guess what? We have it. This is the all-new 2021 Kia Seltos. This particular one is an S trim level, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's talk a little bit about Kia. Kia right now is riding a whirlwind of success with their three-row SUV, that mid-size SUV known as the Telluride. What they're trying to do is they're trying to take some of that magic, some of that recipe, and bring it into a smaller SUV in their lineup. Now, if you're wondering where does the Seltos fall in that lineup, this is going to be right between the Soul and the Kia Sportage. Now, what's interesting is that the wheelbase of the Seltos is actually longer than the Soul, but overall dimensions are very, very close. This actually sits on the same chassis as the sister brand, the Hyundai Kona, yet it has more room inside than the Kona and actually rides a little higher than the Kona. One thing is for sure, they have a trim spec sheet that really is gonna fit a lot of budgets and give you a lot of bang for the buck. This, like I pointed out, is an S trim, and like I promised you here on Rady's Rise, we're gonna bring you all the trims. We've already done the fully loaded. This S trim is a little bit lower into the entry gate of the Seltos. So let's go ahead, dive in, see what's new about the incredible Seltos and where that S trim falls into your budget. Right off the bat, you'll notice the proportions, like I said, is gonna be very similar to the Kona, but with some very distinct differences. I like what they've done with the headlight design. So you have your projector beam style headlight design, everything all up high rather than the headlight being in a separate location in the front fascia. You're gonna get LED daytime running lamps on this S trim. I like the silver that they've done and the way that they brought the silver to integrate into that grille. Now, as we drop down, you do have LED fog lamps, a little bit of a fake vent design. I'm not gonna zonk it too bad. I wish that they just would have went smooth, flat black. So I'll give it a half zonk. Other than that, it's nice to have fog lamps, especially LED. Now, as we come across the grille design, which is becoming very specific to Kia, this is that tiger nose grille. No matter which vehicle you're looking at a Kia dealership, they're gonna have that tiger nose grille sort of pinched in the center. I like the flat black. That silver kind of follows from the fog lamps around the tiger nose. It's got a nice texture to it. We drop down, you have a horizontal, very simple horizontal slot, flat black, and then you're gonna have this nice bright silver. Now, one thing to be aware, the Kia Seltos has already been on sale in India for well over a year, and it's been a top seller. Unique to the United States is this front fascia. This front fascia actually sits up a little higher. For the model in India, it's a little bit lower. What that's gonna do is it's gonna give you better ground clearance because you can get all-wheel drive with a locking center diff on your Kia Seltos. But from one side to the other, very, very unique, but also you know it's a Kia. It's got that Telluride little sprinklings in there. Now, when we get up onto the hood, I really love what they did. You have a nice prominent body line on each side that's kind of in a check mark shape. Other than that, super clean. We come around the bend, and here's where you're gonna see some different options. You're gonna have three different wheel options. This one looking good with that flat gray finish. You have your Kia badge, of course, in the center there. Now, if you're wondering what's the size of this wheel, this is a 17-inch wheel. You can go all the way up to an 18-inch wheel, depending on the trim. 215 on the width, and it's a nice 55 series sidewall, which is gonna give you a comfortable ride as you're going down the road. You can see how they brought the flat black all the way around the fender treatment, and I even like the way they extended the headlight housing far into the fender. What that does is that it kind of breaks up the blandness of just a regular car fender without you having to put any fake vents or any of that stuff on it. Now, this particular one, you'll notice, has an option. It's a two-tone paint scheme. You have the blue with the optional white roof, white mirror caps. I think that breaks up the sea of blue very, very nicely. You have very slim and trim LED turn signals in those mirrors, flat black, which I think is great. And I also love the way that they blacked out the A-pillar. Gives it a much lower look to the roof, even though I'm promising you, inside, tons of space, even if you're well over 6 feet tall. Down below, I think it's super smart the way they brought the cladding up just a little bit, but nothing too high. Some gloss black just to kind of spruce it up and give it some personality. You have color match door handles, little bit of silver trim. And what's nice is the silver trim is just on the bottom, and I love the way it curves up and then comes into the rear pillar here with the quarter window. The reason why I like this is that this design is very similar to what they did on the Telluride in the center, where it doesn't go all the way up and around. You have very, very low silver roof rails with a nice little extension on the back. I actually like that. It gives it, like I said, some personality, because lots of competition in this smaller subcompact SUV segment. The CX-30 is what this is really gunning for. Of course, the Kona and many, many more that we're going to talk about once we get inside. Now, you do have a low roof spoiler. It does have a nice little body line to it. You have your third brake light all blacked out around it. We drop down, and I love what they did with the silver trim. So just like on the front, they brought that flat silver. It integrates nicely into your LED taillights. You're gonna have your reverse lamps built in there, a nice bright S badge. This is S trim. We keep dropping down those mandated DOT reflectors. I think they integrated it very, very smartly. My only zonk is down below. Now, I like the flat black. I like the silver. This fake vent just isn't working for me, but what's worse, what the bigger zonk is, are these things that are, I don't know if they're trying to look like exhaust or what's going on, but it's just an interesting design that from behind, it looks like it's a fake exhaust, and I don't like things that are fake like that. Exhaust is tucked nicely underneath, but other than that, very, very clean from front to back. Let's go ahead, pop the hood, and see what's powering this particular Seltos. All right, guys, now with the Kia Seltos, you do have two different engine options. This one is gonna be the naturally aspirated engine route. So what you're looking at is a 2-liter inline-4, 146 horsepower, 136 foot-pound of torque. Now, if you're wondering, well, what is the transmission? If you go with the turbocharged transmission, you are gonna get a 7-speed DCT. This has what Kia calls an IVT. It's an intelligent variable transmission. It's basically a CVT. It's a fancy way to say that it's a CVT. The Seltos weighs around 3,000 pounds. The great news is, with this front-wheel drive setup, maximum MPGs, almost 30 in the city, 34 on the highway. And like I said, this is gunning for the Mazda CX-30, the Toyota CHR, the Honda HR-V, the Subaru Crosstrek, and its own Kia Soul, and the Kona, which is obviously from the sister brand. But why don't we go ahead, let's check out the interior and see what's so special about the Seltos. All right, guys, we're inside the 2021 Kia Seltos S. Now, this is not a base model. There is a trim lower than this, but definitely this is a separation from what we drove on the media press launch. And if you haven't seen that video, I'm gonna leave it at the end of this one. If you're wondering, well, Joe, this isn't fully loaded, it's not a base, how much is this one? The S trim comes right around $23,500. Let's see what you get for the money. To the door panels. Now, there's a lot of dark material, but I think it works well with this deep ocean blue color of this particular Seltos. You have the gloss black that kind of flows into that funky looking speaker cover that they got there. A little bit of silver trim for the door handle to open it. And then as you work your way down, you do have soft material on the back portion and the armrest. I like the blue contrast stitching on the armrest too, because of this being a deep ocean blue color. And then you have the speaker cover down lower that also has that funky texture design. Small pocket though, you're probably only gonna be able to get a smaller bottle and just maybe 1 or 2 Twinkies down there. My only gripe is that the top of the door panel, the zonk, is gonna be hard plastic. We get to the dash, and that's where the zonks kind of continue. Hard plastic, and then this is also hard material. Now, I do like the texture on it, and I like the two-tone blue with the black, especially because of this particular Kia Seltos. Now, when it comes to your infotainment, standard is gonna be your 8-inch infotainment system. This one has your traditional key fob from Kia. It's a good-looking key fob. The only thing that's different with this one is that you have a key ignition. So I'm gonna go ahead, no push button start, fire it up. Here is our 8-inch infotainment system screen. Now, if you want larger, they have larger. They actually have the largest in the actual segment of this Seltos. It's a 10.25-inch screen. This 8-inch screen, though, is large enough, I think. It's that iPad style. You do have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, touchscreen, of course. You can get into your driving information and whatnot. So that is really nice to have that technology. A little bit of gloss black. There's that blue that extends. I like what they did with the AC vents with a little bit of silver. And then on the S trim, you're gonna get your standard AC controls. Now there's a bit of gloss black here, but like my mom says, if you don't want fingerprints on it, just don't touch it. So you have your old school knobs, easy to use, easy to understand, your blower fan switch in the center here, and then where you wanna direct that air to hit. Now when we come down, here is where the Seltos really earns their keep. They have a shelf here. Now on the higher trims, this is wireless charging, but this is a perfect place to put your Jolly Ranchers and Tootsie Rolls. You have a nice cubby where you could actually use that to pour some M&Ms in, or if you need to charge something, you have a 12 volt and two 12 volts and a USB, which is a nice touch. This is gonna control that CVT, or I should say IVT transmission. I do like the way they brought the blue stitching from the armrest onto the shift boot. You have a nice drive mode selector knob instead of just a plain button. And if you're wondering, well, what do all these fake buttons do? There's obviously more options like heated seats in the higher trim. So that's why you do have the fake buttons here. 2 cup holders, good old fashioned e-brake. The armrest is hard as a rock, but it does have that nice leatherette style material. The blue stitching, open it up and you could easily take your Twinkies, stand them up, and you could put about 10 of them in there. So that'll get you covered for your journey. And then you're gonna have a nice combination of the leatherette material with this cloth. Very tasteful, very soft, and the lower cushion especially is wide and long to fit many different body types. You're gonna have manual seat controls for both the passenger and the driver. And like I was telling you, there's a ton of headroom in here. I'm 6 feet tall. If you're taller than I am, you're still gonna have plenty of room. Overall, the comfort's nice. Why don't you get behind the wheel over here? I want to show you what's going on with the business end. All right, guys, business end. Like I said, you have the manual controls. They're easy to use, and I pretty much was able to get it to fit my body very, very quickly. Steering wheel. One of my favorite things that Kia is doing are their steering wheels. The material is nice. You have some nice stitch work. The gloss black is just enough. Tasteful horn button. Flat black on the buttons, and you also have some thumb controls as well, which is a really nice touch. And then the dash, simple to understand. You got an analog tach, speedometer, fuel gauge, and coolant gauge, and then you have that little digital display in the center where you could actually toggle through all the different information. Of course, you're gonna get all those driver assistance, safety devices to help you arrive alive as you're going down the road. And at that price point that we're at with $23,500, I think from a safety standpoint, you're getting a lot of that great technology, a lot of great room, the drive mode selector button. Why don't we go ahead, let's check out the back seat and see how your passengers are gonna like this Seltos. All right, guys, back seat time. If you thought already that the Seltos has already earned its keep with giving you a lot of value, it's also giving you a ton of room. What I like about the flat roof, which kind of gives it a little bit more boxy look from the top, is that you have consistent headroom all the way back, and I feel really good and comfortable. Now, you do have plastic on the back of the seats, but we're gonna keep that at this price point. I can understand that. What I can't understand is at least just giving the back passenger at least a 12 volt. Maybe 2 cans and a string so you could talk to somebody, but other than that, no rear AC and no connectivity back here. I do like this texture though. The cloth is very tasteful. You have that leatherette material, which is very nice. You do have a center armrest, which is a big plus, because a lot of times manufacturers just say, hey, well, if you're going to lower trim, then we're not even going to give your passengers an armrest. We're going to make them suffer. Kia doesn't want your passengers to suffer. 2 cup holders, really, and it's a great height. Other than that, I feel really good back here. Let's go ahead and check out the cargo area and see how much room you have in the Seltos. All right, guys, let's go ahead. We're going to check out the cargo area, see what kind of junk we could put in the trunk of a Seltos. It is manual lift. You just hit the little button. When we get to the back, you're looking at over 26 cubic feet of space with the seats up. You fold those seats down, what are we talking about for room? You're looking at 62.8 cubic feet of space. Now, one thing that I love is that you have a movable floor. So right now it's in the lower setting to kind of get, if you have something a little taller back here, you could get it in. I do like the size of the opening and very, very easy to put the seats down. So you're just gonna lift up and push. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the driver's side, lift up, push, there's your seats. Now, by taking the floor, I'm gonna go ahead and get the floor mats out. By taking the floor, and there's our spare, we now have almost a perfectly flat floor in the back of the Seltos. And this is what's gonna make the versatility of this vehicle so amazing compared to its competitors. But why don't we get to the best part? Let's go ahead. I know I need to get those floor mats in there, but let's go ahead. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's take this Seltos for a spin. All right, guys, we're in the 2021 Kia Seltos. I'm gonna remind you, this is the S trim level. What I like right off the bat is after driving the fully loaded one with Kia in San Antonio, I'm still getting the great riding experience, the great drive here. The seats are comfy, they're supportive at the same time. You have awesome visibility out the windshield. Out the back, the only challenge is that center headrest is a little large, but other than that, you have clear visibility. I know many people are not liking the iPad style infotainment system. I don't think it's too bad. To be honest with you, I think they integrate the 10.25 inch infotainment system screen. I think they integrate that a little bit smoother than the 8 inch, but steering wheel feels great. I'm gonna go ahead and put it into sport mode. You have sport, normal, and smart. Those are your 3 different driving modes. I also like, and the reason why I turn on the windshield wipers is that it shows you what speed you are in that little digital display in between the speedometer and the tachometer. But CVT at normal driving, you almost don't feel like you're in a CVT at normal driving. Now, I'm sure when we go around the corner here and I get on throttle, you're gonna get those usual CVT sensations. But here we go, on throttle with the naturally aspirated engine. So you do have simulated shifts. What I'm finding though, it's not as buzzy as some other brands that we've been in with that engine and transmission setup. But what really has opened my eyes is that the naturally aspirated engine is quite peppy for what it is. And I think that a lot of it has to do with how they have, how they tune the engine a little differently than what you find in some of their other models. But inside, you're gonna get all that connectivity. The controls are easy to get to, and it's quiet in here, which is really nice as well. All right, guys, let me go ahead, get on throttle. So pretty good job with the simulated shifts so that the RPM isn't totally pegged at 6,000 the whole time. I do have it in sport mode, which is going to change the parameters of how the car behaves. And like I said, you are getting all those driver assistance features, the lane keep assist, which is really, really nice. Emergency braking, pedestrian assist, and all that other kind of stuff. So they do a really good job throwing a lot of the safety tech, and I can understand where and why they cut the corners the way that they did to try to give you that value, that $23,500 value in this particular vehicle. But smooth driving, and I'm telling you, if you've not been behind the wheel of a new Kia, I almost want to say almost any model, whether it's the Stinger, the Telluride, or this Seltos, it's gonna surprise you with how they drive and what you're getting for the money. All right, guys, on throttle again. So you can really hear those simulated shifts, and it keeps us moving forward without that annoying, crazy drone that you get from so many other CVTs. So maybe this intelligent, the IVT, they really have done some tweaking there to give you a better driving experience. But getting to the controls are great, and where the hard plastic is in this car, you're not really going to notice until you put your arm on top of the door panel, like right on the edge. That's where I like to rest my arm a lot of times. That's where you're going to feel the zonk from that hard plastic. The dash, you're not really touching that, so I get it. And even if you go up a higher trim level, you still get the hard plastic there. So don't think you're avoiding hard plastic on the dash by going a higher trim level. What you are going to get is obviously dual climate control, the heated seats, and then more connectivity with wireless charging. But hopefully this gave you a nice overall feel of what this Seltos at the S trim level is all about. We're gonna get back to Loki Kia and wrap this up, so I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, been another great day here at Loki Kia. I definitely gotta thank Robert, Danny, and the rest of the crew getting us access to another 2021 Kia Seltos. Like I said, I'm gonna be bringing all the trim levels, something that we do very special for you guys here on Rady's Rides. Is this that small SUV knockout that's better than the competition? I think you really need to take Kia very seriously. Besides the other manufacturers taking Kia very seriously, I think you as a consumer need to take Kia very seriously with what they're bringing to the table, especially at this price point and in a package that's attractive. But if it's vehicles like these smaller SUVs you want to see on Rady's Rides, leave a comment in the comment section. If you're new and you're on your way out, hit the subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Rady's Rides family. If you want to help us keep making great content just for you on the channel, click the link in the description. Get yourself some Rady's Rides merch. You got to give it to Big Guns McGee. We went from reviewing a Ferrari to a Kia, but that's what we do. All the makes, all the models, and Tom loves them just like I do. So thank you, Tom, for your hard work. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.